I am so excited to introduce Jen to you tonight. Jen is the Assistant Professor of Biology in the College of Arts and Sciences at St. Joseph's University here in Philly. Her lab is focused on understanding the impact of sleep and disease on memory formation. Dr. Jen is here with us to talk about what it means to invite us in. She's going to unpack invite, she's going to unpack us, she's going to unpack in. It's a beautiful way to think locally about what we just heard on trusting others on a national scale. Now, what you'll hear, she's going to talk for about 9 minutes. You'll see the timer probably someplace around the screen, but don't let that stop you from unpacking the richness of what Dr. Tudor has to say. So join me in welcoming Dr. Tudor.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you to the organizers for allowing me to come and speak to you today. Unlike the previous speaker, I have not written a book, so I don't have a pithy title ready to go. So when I was trying to think about what is it that I wanted to speak about, my husband and I were kind of bouncing ideas off each other, and every once in a while he could be kind of brilliant. And he came up with this title, Invite Us In. And so this is going to serve as the outline of my talk. And so let's start with the us. What do I mean by us? Now, I can be speaking from multiple perspectives. I am the daughter of immigrants from South Korea. And this is the identity that I've probably most strongly identified with. My best friends growing up were immigrants as well, or daughters and sons of immigrants. And certainly, given that according to Pew's 2018 report on Philadelphia's immigrants, more than a quarter of Philadelphians are immigrants, and or they have a foreign-born parent. So it is not a unique identifying marker. And speaking on how church can and should support the immigrant population would be impactful to the idea of creating a better future and the power of we. Not everyone has the benefit that I had. I had a richly resourceful extended family to support my growth as an individual. I was not hampered because my parents were immigrants. It was a free gift given to me based on what family I was born into. So I did not merit such a free gift. I did not deserve it, but I was accepted into America because of the family I was born into. So based on this free gift, I was not injured in any way. And so I think that the church should play an important role in supporting immigrants. Not everyone is as lucky as I was, but tonight I will not actually be focusing on that part of the talk. I just kind of mention it for you guys to kind of chew on. All right, so if it's not about the immigrant experience, what would I be talking about? So as the old trope goes, you wouldn't hit a lady, would you, right? And so I kind of joke around with my friends and family, and I said, well, you wouldn't hit a lady in a wheelchair that wears glasses, would you? So yes, I wear glasses, but I'm not going to talk about my struggle with myopia. Okay, that's not the us tonight. And as much as I love the idea of women in society and the role of women in society, and particularly in STEM fields, so that is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, that will not be the topic of my talk today. However, I am going to be talking about, and from the perspective of someone who struggles with a visible disability, a la the chair, someone that struggles with invisible disability as well. I was born with a congenital birth defect, but I also have an acquired disability. And I have struggled with emotional and psychiatric disability as well. So those are the perspectives that I'll be speaking from. And, well, why is it relevant? According to Pew, Philadelphia has the highest rate of disability among large US cities, and 22% of Philadelphia's poor are also disabled. So it's a real issue of our city. So what is disability? What am I talking about when I speak about disability? So this is the International Classification of Functioning Disability in Health. This is a slide that I show to first-year medical students at Jefferson when I go speak to them every year. And what you notice is that there's health conditions on top, but that is not the primary or only factor that is related to disability. There's body function, body activity, as well as participation. So aside from personal factors that are affecting disability, there are environmental factors as well that leads to this biopsychosocial model of disability. So what does that mean? Let me put it another way. Disability is not simply a personal condition of my body and mind, but disability is also imposed on me based on the environment that I am in. And it will determine my ability to participate in any given activity. So in my life, and I just speak from personal experience, it is the church, and when I say the church, I mean the people, the buildings, the institution in general, so the church, that has imposed the most disability on me. The church is where I felt the most undervalued, forgotten, and invisible as a human being. The church is where I felt the most limited and disabled. The church is where I am reminded of what is wrong with me. So frankly, it's a miracle I am a Christ follower today. And it is because of Christ I am reminded of my true value regardless of disability. And it's not all grim news. There are many, many, many members of the church that have validated me as a human being. But at the same time, it is from this particular experience that I am speaking. Okay, so that is a little bit of the us that I am going to be speaking about today. So often in front of churches, let's get to the invitation part. In front of the churches, there are signs that says all are welcome. But the title of this talk is not welcome us all in, right? The title of the talk is invite us in. So what is the distinction between these two things, okay? According to the dictionary, to welcome is to greet in a friendly manner. I didn't know that actually until I looked that up. To greet in a friendly manner. To invite is an action that makes a particular outcome more likely. So I think the best way to do this is through an illustration. As a college professor, I encounter students all the time that are struggling due to the different stresses that they're experiencing on campus. And we are encouraged as professors to remind students to seek out support services as necessary. Now, I can tell a student that they are welcome to seek help at the support services office. And I'm sure they'll be greeted in a friendly manner per the definition. The other way I can do it, and alternatively, I can help them make the appointment at the support services office, and even better, I can walk with them or roll along next to them to the support services office to help destigmatize this process. So that process of making the appointment with them, walking them to the office is perhaps more inviting than just saying, oh, please go seek support at these offices. Everyone understand what I'm saying? And I would love to see the universal church be more inviting to those with disabilities. How can we do this? One thing that I was thinking about is that we can remove barriers before they even exist, even before they are confronted. It is probably the most inviting action we have when all the barriers, physical, emotional, spiritual, are addressed even before that they are encountered. That is probably the most inviting action. Just as an aside from the physical barriers, there are other barriers that keep our worship spaces uninviting. As a musician and as a neurobiologist, I am all too aware of the sensory cacophony that exists in our current modern worship experience. And it can be quite dreadful for those that have sensory sensitivities that are common for many developmental disorders. So that is something that we should be thinking about. Or how about invitation to the communion table with those of mobility disabilities? And without thinking about it, that's something to think of. I've honestly rarely seen worship services that are inviting to those with visual or auditory impairments. It's another area that we need to be thinking of. And often the response from churches are, well, if we need to make an accommodation, we of course will. But I wonder if that response is truly an inviting response. Are we unintentionally acting in an uninviting way by ignoring those that may have not graced our doors yet? How valued would someone feel if before they even show up, they see that there is an interpreter there? They see that all the ramps have been already placed. They see that the barriers have been removed. So where is this invitation? Where are we going to? What is this in that I am talking about? So basically, too often my disability has put me in a category of other, and I'm reminded of this otherness quite often. Wouldn't it be a heavenly vision that the church is the one place where I'm not reminded that I'm other, but my otherness is accepted and brought into the fold? Instead, I've been told that my disability will hamper with participation in church simply because of the choir loft or the inaccessible classroom. It happens more often than we think. So in the same way that Jesus engaged the Samaritan woman at the well, as told in John 4, despite her otherness, why can't the church also engage with those with disabilities more? Jesus was clear that it was sufficient that my sins are forgiven, and I rejoice in this truth, but the constant refrain that I am not normal reverberates implicitly throughout the church and to those with disabilities. Jesus' healing was to reverse the injustice, not necessarily to just reverse the disability in and of itself. Can we not do more in the church to reverse instead of perpetuate the injustices imposed by society? So, based on this idea, I am thinking that I'd like to engage you in a little bit of a thought experiment with the little time I have, as the clock is clearly over. Okay, I'd like to engage you with a thought experiment, so please bear with me. Okay, at the end of times, in the new heavens and new earth, how do you picture yourself? How much of the physical you do you think you will take with you? Your personality, your thought processes, your physical attributes. How much of that is in the new heavens and new earth? Let me read Revelation 21:4. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and death shall be no more. Neither shall there be mourning, nor crying, nor pain anymore, for the former things have passed away. So I have hope that I will not suffer from my invisible disability of chronic pain in the future, but nothing in that verse suggests that I will walk again. So let's think again on this biopsychosocial model of disability. If part of disability is what's imposed by environmental factors, and if these environmental factors change in the new heavens and the new earth, all the things that is causing my mourning, crying, and pain with my visible physical disability, and the wheelchair has to do with how society imposes disability on me, and not necessarily the wheelchair in and of itself. In some ways, I think of the wheelchair as part of my life in the same way that I'm from Korean descent, that has New Yorker attitudes, I'm from New York originally, or that I have dark hair, or that I'm some kind of spunky person, or however way that other people want to define me. So the wheelchair, I think of it more as an adjective and not necessarily a good or bad thing, or something that requires the healing. So I propose a new model of disability theology, one that is not focused on highlighting my otherness, but to highlight what we share across society. And an alternative title of my talk was Unnecessarily Handicapped. And I've been working on this idea that we are all unnecessarily handicapping ourselves at one point in life or the another. Okay? So one of my topics of my research is sleep deprivation and its insidious effects on the body and mind. So even a brief period of 5 hours sleep deprivation is going to lead to problems with memory and attention and cognition. So we are, by sleep depriving ourselves, we're creating an unnecessary handicap. And there are numerous other mental and emotional burdens that handicap us. So it can be something like fear of failure, or maybe fear of success. It could be introversion or extroversion. Okay? There are everyday things that can really stop us from doing what we are called or convicted to do. We are all broken, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. We all share this trait. And as the psalmist reminds us in Psalm 143, he heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. I would like to encourage the church to do this for all people, to create a better future, and to invite us, all of us, in. Thank you very much.